Christmas store.
Here's a gift the whole family will enjoy. The Sony SuperBeta video recorder for crystal clear quality with wireless remote. And the Sony Trinitron 19-inch color TV, monitor, and receiver in one. Or if space is a factor, choose the Sony 13-inch Trinitron with all the same features.
When you make it right, your Christmas store.
So before I even show the VCR or anything, because I didn't record any footage of it beforehand, it's got a bad power supply. Apparently these 1985 and newer models have a known voltage regulator that goes bad, so I ordered a new one. And I figured I'd recap it as well anyway, because, I don't know, why not? It's looking acceptable. So here's the old one, and here's the new one. Old, new. Now we need to put some gunk on there. I'm putting the heatsink compound on the heatsink instead of the chip just because it'll be easier to install, because I want to solder the chip in still. I think that ought to be pretty good. Goop. So next, let's solder this back into here. There we go. Used a little bit too much solder. It's really hard to solder looking through a camera. I don't know how those other people on YouTube do it. It's a pain in the butt. Alright, it's ready to go back in. That little break in the circuit board doesn't affect any traces, so it's okay. Got everything screwed back together. New voltage regulator in. I've replaced every cap except that little blue one you see there, and that's because I screwed up my order and I ordered 50 volt instead of 63. Because I'm an idiot. So that one actually tested best out of all of these, so I guess that's fine. None of them tested bad. They all tested kind of lossy, I guess. So, and a little high, which usually means they're not in the best shape. But none of them were like outright garbage. So yeah, get it back in the machine now. Okay, it's back together. This thing compared to the SL-2710 weighs nothing. It's amazing what 1 year did for simplifying everything. The power supply, there's basically 2 circuit boards. This one hinges up. Now this is kind of a pain in the butt if you want to take the power supply out. This is the only connector on the power supply board. All these others go off to connectors on the other boards, and you have to sort of pick each one up, fish it kind of over here, and then pull it back. I mean, unless I wanted to disconnect these plastic hinges, but you know, then I might break them. So that's all back in, and yeah, let's power it on. So symptom before was when I turned on the power, this lit up, but it had no power light. It's a good sign. Symptom number 2, the remote didn't work. This isn't the original remote. Yeah, that seems to work. The original remote is problematic right now. I think it had some battery leaking I gotta fix. But this didn't work with any remote. Next problem, it would not take a tape. Ooh, that's a good sign. So play.
Want to be called a cowboy, you better start working on it. You can begin by shining those pants up with an all.
Okay. Just to compare this one to the 2710 I did. Play.
Want to get too much of it.
Pause. Interesting. Yeah, it works. It works. Try some beta scan. Oh, you have to hold it. And rewind. Did you just chew my tape when I hit rewind? Let's see here. Hard to tell. This thing has been sitting for a very, very long time. So, I mean, it could very well just be that everything's gotta kind of get moving again. Could need some lubrication. The pinch roller, where it's hiding over here, might need some rubber renew, or it might be far gone, who knows. But it's working. SuperBeta Max is working. Alright, I'm gonna get this together. But before I do that, final step. Yay! Also, regarding the heatsink compound, I can tell it's working because this heatsink feels warm, but the regulator, but I have this unplugged, so yeah. The regulator feels not as warm. So the heat is being sunk along that metal piece on the back onto this piece of metal, exactly as it should. If this was getting real warm and this wasn't getting as warm, then I would be worried about the transfer, but that feels okay. Oh yeah, it's all back together. Look at this beauty. It's got these oddball switches on the side that aren't really common to any of the other models. You got this wonderful window with this sort of purpley blue accent trim. SuperBeta. All your standard controls. TV VTR for the, hey. What the shit? There we go. The TV VTR button that probably needs cleaning. There we go. Your reset button for the counter. Tape return, which is kind of like a 2-in-1 equivalent of the memory button that all the VHS machines have. So if you press this, it will rewind back to 0. So 2 steps. Complete with cat. We'll just sort of let her do her thing. It's best not to fight it. Now I have this set to line in so the channels aren't being shown. One problem with this is the little flip down door is broken. Luckily it's magnetic, so it just sort of holds there. We have our tracking controls, digital control for the slow motion, regular for normal. I think as far as like auto tracking, there was maybe only one consumer Sony Betamax model that had it. I think it was like the 2000, maybe the 1000. I don't know. Sharpness control. This does have SuperBeta, so you can turn that on and off. Your input select, so I'm on the line in. Switch over to tuner. And the little buttons on this door poke through and use the adjust buttons. You can see the little definition there. That's all your timer set controls. And this has presets. This isn't like the 2710 that has every channel available. This is only presets. Yeah, you can set the clock. Press that. I think I pressed that and hit next. Come on. There we go. Today is Thursday. And I don't know the actual time, so I'm just going to say it's 9 p.m. There we go. And this has frame advance and 2 slow motion speeds, which is pretty decent. We get down to the HiFi processor that this came with. This is the HFP HFP-200. And I've seen the HFP-100 around as well. The only difference, they're both identical HiFi processors, but the 100 is only a HiFi processor. This also decodes stereocast or MTS stereo off of the tuner. So this interfaces with the tuner on here and will actually decode stereo TV signals back in the analog days. So you could record off of TV in stereo. You have your second audio, you can set to auto or stereo, MPX filter. So when you're recording stereo signals off of TV or FM radio, sometimes the multiplex signal will like bleed through onto the recording and I guess get some noise. I'm not really explaining it very well, but like high-end audio cassette decks had an MPX filter for that reason, recording off the radio, and this does too. Input line audio, so I believe this is if you want to use the line audio instead of tuner audio, but still record off of TV. Don't know what audio only is. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. And then monitor is the equivalent of the newer VCRs when you can go stereo left or right. So if I do this, it'll play the left channel out of both speakers or the right channel out of both speakers. And then of course the big beta HiFi button, which is push in to disable. Which is kind of weird. Yeah. Let's test it out with a tape. Oh, and I cleaned off the terminals of the remote. So that's nice. Got a lovely VU meter that I can mute. Oh, I'll turn that sound off because that's going to get me in trouble. And you have a headphone jack with its own volume control there. There's the record level adjust. It's pretty straightforward, but it's got all the features that I need, and it's complete, which is very nice. This is a simpler remote than some of the other machines. So I can do, let's see here, if I pause. Now this is beta 2, and this is a 2-head model, so it's not going to be the best special effects. Okay, I gotta fix my mistake there. This does have crystal clear special effects in beta 2. That's what this adjustment's for. So if I'm in pause, which I am now, and you'll see it's crystal clear except for a little bit of jitter. If I go and adjust the slow tracking and then hit frame advance 1, you'll see that the tracking has changed. Now I can't adjust this tracking with pause on. You'll see nothing happens until I hit frame advance, and then the next frame will line itself up correctly. So if I put it in slow mode 1/10, see, that's good. And as I adjust the slow tracking, you'll see, yeah, that bar starts to come up, and I can adjust it the other way and that bar will go down. Slow motion 1/5, and go back to pause, and that's me just pressing the frame advance button. And yeah, there's really not much to this remote at all. So I've already watched a movie on this. That's why this is at the end. And I did notice that the regulator does get pretty damn warm. Well, the regulator doesn't get warm. The heatsink connected to it gets warm. It's that L shape that goes up, and the back of it was getting quite toasty. For my American friends, like in the 120 degrees Fahrenheit range. I don't know if that's bad. I mean, these big beefy linear power supplies used to get pretty warm. So I don't know, maybe someone who knows more about these will let me know if that's a problem. Maybe something in here is drawing a little too much. Maybe the motors need to be lubricated or something. as far as I can tell, it's working just great, except for this RF modulator button. Come on. One thing I did have to do is the pinch roller was fairly bald, so I scrubbed it clean with rubbing alcohol, and I did 2 applications of rubber renew on it, and it seems to be working fine now. It feels way different than before. It took like a good layer off of that roller. Now it's nice and soft, and yeah, it's really bloody cold out, so I can't exactly do that outside, so I just went in the basement bathroom, held my breath, did it real quickly, turned on the vent fan and closed the door and left it in there for a while. Ideally you want to use that outside in a very well ventilated area, because that shit is nasty. But yeah, pinch roller's good on it now. Everything seems to be doing its thing. I think next I want to do some test recordings. Haven't done that in a while. Alright, time to record some sample footage. I got my crappy DTV box out. This thing only tunes in one channel because I don't have the remote. So we're going to record commercials from this channel. I've got SuperBeta on. Record speed set to, let me finish setting the time here. Set to beta 2. So, oh, I should turn up the volume too.
Rising nighttime sniffling, sneezing so you can rest. Medicine.
Keep moving on. Keep moving on. Life is this way. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. Every day.
Because you're here to move your business forward. BDC's here for what's ahead. BDC, the bank for Canadian entrepreneurs.
Do you experience IBS symptoms like Probiotics can help. Align's probiotic strain was developed by gastroenterologists and adds good bacteria that helps relieve IBS symptoms. Try Align today.
Iced coffee. There he is. You missed a spot.
Right now, get a medium McCafe premium roast coffee. Hot or iced for $1 plus tax for a limited time.
I didn't know, or I wouldn't have been flirting with him.
That was flirting?
I have some memories I need to look at.
Hello, Clarice.
But I hear you asking, what about showing the difference between SuperBeta and regular beta?
So does my Oral-B. My hygienist personalizes my cleaning. So does my Oral-B.
Let's zoom in a little bit and slow down.
Personalizes my cleaning.
Yeah, it's definitely sharper. And as a final test, let's see how it plays Beta 1, which is on my, of course, ironically labeled Beta 2 tape. Should play it fine, it's a Sony. They all play Beta 1. There we go. Can tweak the tracking a little bit. Being Beta 1, it can go way out. You can blank the screen with tracking. And of course, things like pause, it just blanks out entirely. It's not even going to try and do special effects. Of course, the last bit to show is the rear. And this one's pretty interesting because you have it split between 2 separate units. So looking at the VCR itself is pretty standard. 2 coax F connectors for both VHF and UHF and whatever cable frequencies you can pull in. The RF unit control for channel 3 and 4. Controls, so I guess some sort of remote connector, maybe remote pause or something. Looks like a 3.5 jack. audio in and out, mono of course, video in and out, and here's the connector for the Beta HiFi processor. It actually, just when you look at it, it looks very similar to the 2 rows of pins that you'd get on like a floppy connector or IDE connector on old computers. But if you look closer, they are actually a little bit more rectangular. The ones on like a motherboard or something are usually more square. These are more like slots. But a very unique and proprietary connector, so don't break it. What else we got? That's it, I guess. Here's the model number. And then going back and looking at the HiFi processor, you have fine tracking control. So I've played with this, and in the instruction manual it talks about adjusting this in case you get any buzzing against the picture, I guess to offset the audio from the video or something, any hum. I tried playing the movie Caddyshack on here because it's got a bit of a hum in the audio, but this didn't fix it, so I'm not entirely too sure what this does. But even bringing the tracking at the edge so the HiFi is just cutting in and out, this doesn't seem to do anything, so not really sure. Then your stereo line in, line out. Now what's interesting is when I adjust the tracking so the HiFi track kicks out, it doesn't automatically default to the linear audio on this output here. It will just blank and you have no audio. But if you turn the HiFi switch on this off, then you get the linear audio. So yeah, this doesn't automatically switch between them when you have the HiFi switched enabled. It's HiFi only. Your type AB, not sure what this does. And system power, this is just generally turning it on and off. So normally it turns on and off with the signal from the VCR unit, but you can separately power it off if you want for some reason. And it has a unswitched outlet, which is very handy because you plug the VCR into the HiFi processor and then you have one nice package. You didn't think I was going to end it without opening this processor unit. I mean, come on, let's take a look inside. This is way more complex than I thought it would be. Check out this cool ass transformer too. Nippon Makis? I don't know. So we got power supply board here, and beside that I have no idea. Separation, time constant. This does something. All this stuff also does things. While I'm in here, I'm gonna pop the front off of this and give these all a clean with contact cleaner, just because they're a little dirty. But I thought it'd be cool to take a look inside this. So this probably explains why the inside was so much simpler than that SL-2710. A lot of extra circuitry was offloaded to this second piece of equipment. Overall, I'm quite happy with this. It has good picture in record and play. I did just a little bit of cleaning in there, power supply rebuild. HiFi processor seems to work fine on its own. Remote's working, it's all intact. The only really broken thing physically is this front door. And yeah, super happy with it. This is going to go into use. I've got a bunch of tapes I need to digitize. Probably alongside the SL-2710. That one seems to work pretty well as well. And actually the SL-5000, I've been doing a lot of older tapes. That thing's been solid. But I really wanted something that can do HiFi and SuperBeta, just because I've actually run into a lot of tapes that were recorded that way. So yeah, That's it. Thanks for watching.